The hidden story of Carmine Lilo Galante, one of history's most brutal mobsters. Just picture a sunny Italian restaurant where a neighborhood-shaking betrayal took place involving a prominent mob leader. However, guess what? His trusted associates played a role. But we've got it all. Mind-blowing secrets, powerful rivals, and a chilling end that'll leave you speechless. So, join us as we uncover the incredible story of Carmine Galante, a boss whose life was like something out of a mafia film. This guy was as ruthless as they come, and he's famous for being the brains behind the heroin trade and pulling off some truly horrifying gangland executions. His story begins on February 21st, 1910, right in the heart of East Harlem, where the legend of one of the most notorious gangsters of the 20th century was born, Camillo Carmine Galante. Now, Carmine wasn't your average kid next door. Nope, he had a natural inclination towards trouble from a young age, and at just 10 years old, he found himself sent off to reform school. As he grew up, he tried his hand at a bunch of odd jobs, like working in a floral shop, a trucking company, and even sorting fish on the waterfront. But all of that was just a smokescreen for his real gig, being a full-fledged mafioso. This guy was involved in all sorts of illegal activities: bootlegging, assault, robbery, extortion, gambling, you name it. But what really put him on the map was an alleged murder of a police officer during a payroll robbery back in 1930. The crazy thing is, they couldn't pin it on him due to a lack of evidence. And then, just to add to his notorious reputation, he got involved in a shootout with the cops on Christmas Eve while trying to hijack a truck, and accidentally ended up shooting a poor 6-year-old girl. After spending some time behind bars at Sing Sing prison, he got evaluated by a psychiatrist in 1931. The diagnosis was pretty eye-opening. He had the mental age of a 14-year-old and an IQ of 90. The poor guy didn't know much about current events or even routine holidays. They called him a neuropathic, psychopathic personality with little emotional depth, and the prognosis wasn't looking too good. To top it off, they even found early signs of gonorrhea during the evaluation. Despite all this, he managed to get released on parole in 1939, and that's when he really got into the thick of things. He joined forces with the Bonanno crime family, whose head, Joseph Bananas Bonanno, hailed from the same place in Sicily as him, Castellamare del Golfo. Carmine remained fiercely loyal to Bonanno throughout his criminal career. But here's where things took a dark turn. In 1943, Galante did something that would make him a standout figure in the mafia world. The notorious crime boss, Vito Genovese, had fled to Italy to dodge murder charges and tried to win favor with Italy's fascist prime minister, Benito Mussolini. So he ordered the execution of Carlo Tresca, who ran a critical anarchist newspaper in New York. And guess who allegedly carried out the hit? You got it, Carmine Galante. Though he was never charged due to lack of evidence, this brutal act further solidified his reputation as a violent and ruthless gangster. In the personal department, Carmine got married to Helen Marulli in 1945, but their relationship hit a rough patch, and they separated. Interestingly, he never divorced her, claiming to be a good Catholic. Instead, he lived with his mistress. Man, Carmine Galante was really climbing up the ranks in the Bonanno family. By 1953, he had made his way to becoming their underboss, and he earned himself some cool nicknames too. The Cigar, or Lilo, which means cigar in Sicilian, because the guy was almost inseparable from his stogie, always puffing away. Now, his big contribution to the family's operation was in the drug game, especially when it came to heroin. The dude was a linguistic genius. He spoke different Italian dialects, Spanish and French with ease, and he put those language skills to good use by overseeing the family's drug trafficking business in Montreal. They were smuggling that notorious French Connection heroin all the way from France to the good old USA. Galante wasn't playing around. From 1953 to 1956, he set up the narcotics operation in Canada, but he had a dark side too, suspected of being behind several murders, including those of slow drug carriers. Eventually, Canada had enough of his antics and deported him back to the States. This guy had connections all over, and he even organized a major meeting with the top mafia and gangster bosses, including the legendary Lucky Luciano in Palermo, Sicily. They struck a deal to smuggle heroin from Sicily into the US, and the Bonanos would handle distribution. Galante knew who to trust, and he recruited a bunch of Sicilians from his hometown, calling them Zips, a nickname of uncertain origin. He relied on them for protection as hitmen and to enforce his orders. But here's the twist: trusting the Zips more than American gangsters would turn out to be his downfall. In the late 50s and early 60s, the law finally caught up with him on narcotics trafficking charges, leading to trials and convictions. He got sentenced to 20 years in federal prison at the age of 52, and it seemed like his time in the limelight was over. Now, this is where things get seriously intense. While Carmine Galante was behind bars, the Bonanno family was going through some serious turmoil. Joe Bonanno had to step down because the Commission, that mysterious ruling body of the American mafia, caught him conspiring against other crime families. When Carmine got out on parole in 1974, he saw that there was just an interim chief running the show for the Bonanno family. But he wasn't about to settle for that. Nope, he swiftly pulled off a coup d'etat and took full control of the Bonannos. With Carmine at the helm, the narcotics trade skyrocketed, and he had his sights set on taking down his rivals. The Gambinos were on top of his hit list, not only because they had a long-standing beef with the Bonannos, but also because they were encroaching on Carmine's drug empire. This guy was swimming in cash, reportedly making millions per day, but he got too cocky and contemptuous. He strutted through Little Italy like he owned the place, and it's said that he had 8 Gambino family members whacked just to solidify his power in the drug trade. People feared Carmine Galante like no other. He was called pure steel by Lieutenant Remo Franceschini of the NYPD's Organized Crime Intelligence Section. Even the other mafia families were shaking in their boots over his power grab. Galante's goal became crystal clear when he started boasting to an associate that he was becoming the boss of bosses, a direct challenge to the mighty Commission itself. Despite a 1977 expose in the New York Times detailing his rise to power as a mafia don, and also revealing that the FBI had him in their sights, Galante was so darn confident that he didn't even bother carrying a gun. He nonchalantly told a journalist, "No one will ever kill me. They wouldn't dare. If they want to call me the boss of bosses, that's all right. Between you and me, all I do is grow tomatoes." But, unfortunately for Carmine, his arrogance caught up with him. The Commission had had enough of this guy thinking he could rule the roost, so they ordered his execution. There are even reports that Joe Bonanno, the very guy he ousted earlier, gave his consent for the hit. Man, the end of Carmine Galante's story is as brutal as it gets. On that fateful day, July 12, 1979, he decided to have lunch at Joe and Mary's, a cozy Italian joint in Brooklyn's Bushwick neighborhood. But then, out of nowhere, 3 men stormed into the restaurant, all wearing ski masks. The scene turned into pure chaos in an instant. A hail of bullets flew, and Galante was hit hard, blasted backward by a shotgun, and pierced by multiple bullets. It was a devastating sight. Sadly, Giuseppe Turano and Leonard Coppola were shot in the head and didn't survive the attack. Amato and Bonventure, Carmine's trusted associates, somehow escaped unscathed, raising suspicion about their possible involvement in the assassination. It was a horrific scene, and the New York Post splashed a front-page photo of the grisly aftermath. Carmine Galante's lifeless body sprawled with his last cigar still hanging from his mouth, a haunting image, with just one word under the picture: greed. This was the end of the line for Carmine Lilo Galante, the once feared mafia boss who had risen to power, only to meet a violent and bloody demise in a peaceful Brooklyn restaurant garden. That's all for the video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insane stories.